Greetings, I'm Rick Parrott, independent video producer in the South Bay region of Los Angeles. I'm talking issues and answers with Ken Arnold, Democratic candidate for the 46th Congressional District, which stretches from South Bay down to Orange County. He's facing incumbent Republican Dana Rohrabacher, who's held office since 1989. An uphill battle to unseat a very long-term incumbent of the GOP. Now, Ken, tell us about your personal background.
Southern California native, born in LA, raised mostly in Orange County. Worked in South Bay and Long Beach area, so I know the district very well. Raised two sons here, career in information systems and business process engineering, making businesses more effective and efficient, and hope to bring some of that to government to make allow them to make the most of our tax dollars.
Now, how did you arrive at the personal decision, the special moment where you say, I'm going to run, and I'm going to take on this challenge, and I'm going to take on this incumbent?
I'd been recruited to run for state assembly in 2008. The Orange County Party was looking to find somebody to run for the 46th. I'd been supported and worked for the previous campaigns of Jim Brandt and Debbie Cook, taking on Dana Rohrabacher, who is done nothing for the district in his time there, and was concerned that there be a good candidate running against him. Thought with the name recognition I had from '08, I'd have at least a shot there.
And here you are stepping forward. Now, you've got a campaign motto, getting America working again, people, not special interests. You've been a business information systems analyst, and you've helped small businesses and Fortune 100s grow and prosper. How did this shape you, and how can it help you be an effective congressman who's going to be a friend to business and help them grow here in Southern California?
I understand how regulation can impact business, and how poorly written regulation can be overly burdensome, and yet I understand the need to regulate for government to keep track of business and make sure it's honest and fair and respectful of the consumers, the public, and the government. But it doesn't need to be overly burdensome. There's been some things such as Sarbanes-Oxley, which became far more of a burden on business than it needed to be to create its goals. So understanding things from the business side and their information systems and processes. Hopefully I can work towards better legislation that can meet the goals and objectives of the legislation without creating an undue burden on business. At the same time, again, I want to bring a lot of that experience in making things more effective and efficient to government itself.
Now, you've called for ending our dependence on fossil fuel. You back environmental protection and growing up the green economy and U.S. technology. Schools are a big part of that, and they're pretty embattled these days. What is the Ken Arnold plan to make all of these goals work together?
Well, there's no single soundbite that's going to solve all our economic or environmental problems. It's going to take a multi-pronged approach across several things, but a lot of them are interrelated. Part of our energy plan certainly is going to make our economy competitive again. We have far more than enough energy coming into this country, but we don't have the technology we need to capture and make it portable and accessible where we need it. Funding research for future green technology is important. We have can create the solutions we need for the long term. Short term, there's a lot we can do with wind and solar and conservation, of reducing the waste we have. As we push forward, I want those to be American jobs, creating solar panels and other things. We need to start manufacturing here in our country again, building that economy, spreading that out is part of it. Strengthening, again, that research and other stuff, using our universities, strengthening our education base, making, the kind of movements we did in the 50s and through the 60s with the space program. That created synergy and energy through the entire economy and made us powerful. Since the space program and everything else we've seen a lot of fall off in interest in key areas in our education. We don't have the number of science, technology, engineering, mathematics students that we used to have. We're falling way behind, and we need to encourage that again so that we can build our manufacturing and the technologies we need to solve energy and other problems of the 21st century and to remain competitive in the world.
Now, we are seeing headlines every day about America's middle class slipping, folks heading for record-setting poverty, struggling. What can be done to help the middle class and keep them from slipping further? Some of the ideas that you've just mentioned about jobs and stuff like would certainly seem to be an improvement, but what are your thoughts about rebuilding America's middle class there?
Well, part of it's just general economic rebuild. I think we need to work on bringing back American manufacturing, having the proper trade policies. The incumbent, Dana Rohrabacher's been in Washington 30 years. When he went to living on taxpayers' money, when he went there, we were a net exporter. We exported more than we imported. We were a manufacturing economy. We need to get back to that. We saved the world through our manufacturing power through the last century and led the world through 2 wars because we had the power of our own resources. Now, we can't even build our own defense systems without depending on overseas suppliers. His party has controlled the White House 2/3 of the time, those 30 years he's been in Washington, and has controlled the legislature a good part of that time. And yet they've run up record deficits and put us in a trade balance that's totally unsustainable. We need to work on both of those. And the way to do that is rebuilding our economy and becoming self-sufficient again in many areas where we've allowed ourselves to become dependent on the rest of the world. Globalism and our free trade, I'm all for global trade, free trade, but it needs to be fair trade at the same time. We've seen the collapse of the Soviet Union, but in so many ways we've sold out to China. They do not, they are a totalitarian communist economy, and they're not playing fair with us. And we need to recognize that and have trade policies that are fair to our workers, our middle class, and our businesses.
And what is further criticism you might have of Mr. Rohrabacher? Why, the many complex issues which you've just mentioned, why is he just not the guy who's going to get some things done? And why is Ken Arnold the guy who is going to get things done?
He has no respect within his own party. A 22-year congressional incumbent should have gotten some significant committee assignments and power. But he doesn't have what it takes there. And his own party realizes that and doesn't give him the respect even when he was in power. It shuffled him off to small side committees. In many cases, his behavior's been an embarrassment to the Congress, to the nation, to the district, and the administrations, congressional leaders have had to apologize for his actions and his statements. It's time he's just not congressional material.
Now, he's also been a staunch defender of Jack Abramoff, who was the super lobbyist who pleaded guilty to corruption of public officials and fraud. And is this kind of a textbook case of the culture of corruption which has afflicted Congress at times? What is your assessment on how this culture of corruption has really damaged Capitol Hill? And what do you want to do to change that?
Boy, there's a lot there. Abramoff, was played with a lot of lobbying money and played both sides of his clients there. I mean, he'd work against people that were paying him money as well as representing them, which is probably more what got him in trouble. We have way too much money influencing our politics. The cost of re-election, cost of corporations. People are too much of Congress including the incumbent, are beholden to the big money interests in the corporations. Dana's basically an oil company representative. He's in favor of offshore drilling in Southern California, in this district that depends so much on clean beaches and its environment for a large part of its economy, tourism and everything else. We need people that are out there representing the voters and the constituents and the workers, the American people, and that's what I'm going to Washington for and hoping to do.
And what is going to pull you through to victory in November?
The vote and the support of the people, communicating to the people and the public. I hope this video goes viral and gets spread around a bit and share some of our message. Unfortunately, that's the same culture of corruption. It takes a lot of money to reach 200,000 potential voters in this district. The incumbent has the advantage of free mailing and a lot of other benefits from his title and position. We need to change our politics long term to allow it to make it easier to upset these long-term incumbents and to get new voices and new thinking into Congress.
Well, we will see if you are one of those new voices. We've been having a good discussion here with Ken Arnold, who is running for the 46th Congressional District, looking to unseat long-term incumbent Dana Rohrabacher. And hopefully everyone will be going to the polls November 2nd, where you can make your choice. Thank you very much, Ken.
Thank you. Appreciate the time.